Welcome back, everybody. Sarcasm Speaks, Jared and Bob here. I guess happy Christmas to those folks that celebrate. We're like in the in-between day between Festivus and Christmas.
Is this gonna come out on Christmas? Are we releasing on
Yeah,
Christmas? Yeah,
this will
because
come
it's
out
Monday.
tomorrow. It's
We don't
Monday.
we don't fuck with the schedule.
No, it might be the least listened to episode all year, but
What's the most clickbaity title we can come up with?
yeah. Fuck Christmas.
No, because that's not even clickbaity. That's not
Yeah,
clickbaity
is
enough.
Hillary back?
It would have to be, yeah, that or it's like how to
That's
real.
actually something that
Yeah, we'll
yeah,
get to it.
we'll get to that. But
Just tease them. I was gonna say
yeah.
because that or it's we're not gonna go like how to really solve the Palestine Israel issue.
Yeah. The solution to
No
the
one's
Middle
ever
East
thought of
conflict.
this.
That's a good the solution to the Middle East conflict. There you go.
To be honest, we will be not speaking about the Middle East because even if you
Nope.
want to, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I don't care. I have
I
nothing
don't
to say
care.
about them. Don't
No,
I?
I got
Doesn't
nothing.
matter.
It's whoever that comedian is, Cyrus or whatever, the Cyrus show on Instagram when he was like, he goes, you know what? We just need to reinstitute the fucking Kingdom of Jerusalem. Is that
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
was?
Yep.
Like back to the Crusades. He goes, Muslims, Jews, you've had enough time, can't figure it out. Christians are coming back.
Yeah, we're gonna reboot the Crusades. I mean, we've rebooted everything else. I just saw there was a commercial last night for Ted, the TV show. So it's going to be Ted. Well, like obviously Seth MacFarlane is still going to do Ted the doll, but Mark Wahlberg's character is going to be like 13, 14. It's like when he was younger. It's like that's all everything is now. It's just reboots and redos and prequels, and there's no like original anything anymore.
I'll give so the tough part about going original now, obviously a lot of shit's been done.
Right.
If you're gonna go original now, it's almost like not believable. So it is a little bit of a
Yeah.
tough scene.
I mean, there's ways to do it though. So, like, my favorite show when I was younger was 24. I think, this is completely subjective. I think 24 was potentially one of, if not the best show on TV at its peak. If you watch the later season, like after season five, it got dumb. Like season six, seven, and eight was just dumb. And then they like brought it back as a mini series, and then they made a movie, and then they rebooted it with the kid who plays Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton. It got bad. Like after season five, it got bad. But the first 4.5 seasons of 24, I think were some of the best TV ever, right? Especially at its peak. Um, but like there was another show similar in a way called Night Agent on Netflix that I loved. And come to find out, Netflix just released all of its information for the first time ever. Um, and Night Agent was the number one watched show in 2023. So like it's there. Like you don't have to be completely original, right? Like Night Agent is a little bit different, but it's still that same sort of like, you know, actiony thwart the fucking, quasi terrorist thing, whatever is happening, right? Like it's similar, but it's original, right? Like you don't need to do like, oh, we're rebooting 24, which they did and it sucked and it did terrible. There's things like that. I'm trying to think of some other examples where they're just trying to like reboot.
Well, any reboot sucks. Like
Yeah.
any
Like
actually,
Frasier. That's another. I saw another commercial recently
I
for
cannot
Frasier. They're
imagine
bringing Frasier back.
why in 2023 you would want Frasier back.
And I mean,
That was
I
a very niche show,
yeah,
even when it came out. And I think
yeah,
people are a lot dumber now.
right, right. And it's like that was I think at its peak, Frasier might have been the number one or number two show on TV. It was
Fuck, man, when I was a kid too, I couldn't watch that fucking show. I was like, this fucking
yeah.
sucks.
I would watch it occasionally, but I was never like a full-on Frasier guy.
No, it was,
Um,
and people used to joke like, oh, it's like for smart people. It's like, oh, you need to be smart to get it. And I'm
yeah,
like, one, you're a pretentious asshole.
right.
Two, yeah, when I was a kid, like no shit, I didn't like it.
Right, right.
I probably didn't like Seinfeld all that much when my father used to watch it as a kid.
Yeah, I don't think I got into Seinfeld until college, really, when I had a ton of free time and had nothing to do. So I watched Seinfeld a bunch. Um,
Yeah, Frasier's an odd one to bring back.
yeah, and it's like you didn't have to completely bring back that. You could have tried to make something similar but different, right? Like, um, let's see what's coming back here. X-Files. They're bringing back X-Files. Oh, they did it with Full House too. It was Fuller House, right? It's the same show. It's just like everyone's
Not as
older.
good.
Yeah, it's not as good as everyone's older and has drug problems.
More realistic.
Yeah, well, in real life, like the actor, like
Oh,
the humans have the
I
drug
thought they had
problems, not
drug
the
problems in the show.
yeah, no, not the characters. I mean, they might have. I haven't watched it, but
I mean, they
um,
rebooted Roseanne.
yeah.
I don't know.
Apparently,
Whatever.
they want to reboot Walker Texas Ranger, which is a fucking travesty. It's Chuck Norris, dude.
So
Chuck
that was
Norris.
another one. Like my father used to watch that show, but like I don't think like dude, I don't that's not gonna be good if it comes back.
No, no. My grandfather used to watch that show. He used to love it. He was a big
I
Chuck
use and
Norris guy.
again I watched it when I was a kid and I'm like, oh no, fuck this.
Yeah.
And it's like it doesn't like and it that was on honestly, that was probably like before the Chuck Norris jokes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, no thank you.
Yeah, like just make something, like I said, you can make something similar but different, right? Like, I don't know. You don't need to redo what's already been done. Because all it is people are just chasing that nostalgia and they're like, oh, this will get people to watch. And it's like, yeah, your
But
show
it's
might
never
be
good.
successful for like the first couple episodes or maybe the first season, right? And then after that, people are like, oh, yeah, this isn't that good.
There's very few sequels or reboots or anything that match or exceed the original. And the only
Yeah.
time it happens is like, I would say in older movies. So it's like you could argue Empire Strikes Back is better than A New
New
Hope. I'm like,
Hope.
oh my God, what the
Yeah.
fuck is it called? Episode 4. But like some people who are hardcore will be like, no, A New Hope's better. And I'm
Right.
like, yeah, okay. Uh, some could argue Godfather 2 is better than Godfather 1. But Godfather 1 is one of the best movies ever.
Right. Right.
Um, you're not really gonna make something better than the original if the original was like really good.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of off the top of my head is the Rocky franchise, right? Like,
Yeah, but
so
people will argue Rocky 1's still the best.
yeah, that's fair. But I feel
Because
like there's enough people that like rock, like, I don't can't think of the word right now. Not collectively, but like, I feel like a lot of people really like Rocky 4, but I think
that's
the
polarizing. Rocky
yes,
4 is very
I
polarizing.
think the actual best movie of the three is Rocky 3.
So if okay, now
Rocky 2 always gets forgotten.
Rocky 2 isn't very good.
Yeah,
This is also where you have to be careful about what you're saying, right?
right.
Because if I say like Rocky 1, the original,
Hmm.
is the best movie, it probably is like the best screenplay, story, or maybe just plot. Like, I don't know exactly what I'm saying.
Right, right,
But Rocky 4 has the better, like, bad guy story.
right.
But the acting is shittier and it gets goofy in it. And people can't look past the robot. And like,
Yeah.
I think it's a little short sighted to just give up on the whole movie because of the robot in the first like whatever minutes that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's goofy.
Right.
Um, and like the montages are just kind of fucking they're goofy. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
Rocky 4 gets a little goofy, but Drago, I know like Apollo Creed was the champ and won, but like Drago seems like the unstoppable force.
Right.
Like,
Right.
what are you gonna do to really get this guy? So,
And he
they
kills Apollo Creed.
right.
Spoiler
And that's
alert. The movie came out
spoiler alert from fucking
40 years ago.
1980,
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and then like, yeah, okay. So then too, it's like the very ending of the movie. Like you can change, I can like that was
Yeah.
fucking goofy, like cringe.
Right.
That was really cringeworthy.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, if you're just gonna sit there and watch a movie, it's like you might be more entertained watching four. I don't know. Just depends on who you are. Now, I
Right.
think three is actually pretty underrated. Now, now take what you will. People think it's weird with Hulk Hogan, like Thunder Lips and all that, and it's again,
Yeah.
they just find it goofy. I thought Clubber Lang was good.
Yeah, I thought Clubber Lang was great. That's why I said like I think Rocky 3 is probably the best, but Rocky 4 is my favorite.
Yeah, I'd still, yeah, I don't know. Like if you told me like, hey, we can watch one right now, one of the movies, I don't know
Yeah.
which one I'd pick.
I'd probably say Rocky 4.
Yeah, four's like yeah, I might lean that way. I've always liked four
Yeah.
because for me, it used to go 4-1-3 in like just depending on mood.
Right.
But yeah, like I always thought Clubber Lang was good because he fucks him up. Like they fight the first time, he fucks him up, and then
Yeah.
they fight the second time and he beats him.
Right.
So it's like
Right.
it happens in one movie, which is like kind of nice sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
The Dark Knight. That's one. I just was
yep,
Googling
Dark Knight's better than
where
Batman Begins.
the sequels are better than the original.
Yep,
I think The Dark Knight is like
one of the best movies
the
ever.
perfect, yeah, it's one of the best movies ever, but it's the perfect example
Yep,
of the sequel is better than the first one.
yep. It's funny too because people used to argue like, "Hell, Batman Begins is good. It's good. It's good. It's good." And I'm like, I have given Batman Begins like a lot of like attempts. Didn't see it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't understand what was so good about it. And maybe I
Yeah.
missed a step, but like so that movie came out what, 2005? We were 15 years
Yeah,
old.
I think so.
So I struggled to follow it when it first came out. Like
Yeah.
I was always missing something or like something along the line just didn't connect to me. Like there always seemed to be a disconnect. And I just figured I'm 15 years old. Like
Yeah.
I might have fallen asleep the first time I saw it too. Like I think I fell asleep in the theater, but I want to say the first time I saw it, I was down the Cape and we went deep sea fishing in the morning, so you have to get up whatever
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And I actually think it was probably too shitty to actually go. So we got there and they're like, "No, we can't go today." So that's why we were at a movie in the Cape in the
Right.
summer,
Right.
if I remember correctly. So I fell asleep during it. So then it's like since then I've never been able to like track the plot from beginning to end. And it always just seemed like the movie was kind of over and then it just like was back on again.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a
So like
weird, it's a
so
weird movie.
I don't know if other people felt that way or if it was just my specific example because it's like literally it felt like okay, the movie's like winding down and then all of a sudden like Ra's al Ghul's back again. And like what where did what
Yeah.
huh? What
It
the hell did I miss?
it actually kind of reminds me of the Batman, like the Robert Pattinson one, because the
Oh,
whole movie was shot like pretty dark, right? Like it's like, can we turn the lights on here? Like, what are we like? The whole movie was shot at night. It's
yeah.
pitch black. Like there's
Yeah, that's
weird
another
shit that's
piece
going
too.
on, and it's like okay,
Because
but then
if you don't have the right TV settings, then it's like hard. It's like literally hard to watch.
yeah, yeah, and then you get to the Dark Knight, and it's like like we said, one of the greatest just in general movies of all time, and it's like wow, like that was a huge turnaround. There's a reason why Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises are always on TV and Batman Begins is never on TV.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, outside of that, I mean, there were some things that were they actually did list Rocky as one of them that the sequels were better. But then there's like Aliens. I never really watched the Aliens
Yeah, I didn't watch
movies.
Aliens.
They said Terminator 2 was better than number one. I never really saw. I
Um,
watched the Terminator movies when I was younger, but honestly, I don't think I've seen. I might have only watched one and two, and I might have only actually watched each one once.
yeah, so I guess the theme of what you were looking up too, because obviously, so just you know, there's going to be some Mission Impossibles better than the first one.
Right, right,
And then if you want to even go with the James Bond franchise, the first one isn't the best,
right.
but there's been fucking 25 of them.
Yeah. Unless
Um,
you look at the
each
if you
actor,
break them by actor.
but even then, I don't think that.
I mean, it
Yeah, I
works for
mean for
Pierce Brosnan.
Connery, no, Goldeneye was his first.
Yeah, Goldeneye was the best one.
I was gonna say I thought we were talking sequels were better
Oh, shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right.
because I was gonna say Brosnan's first was the best.
Yep.
Daniel Craig's Casino Royale and Skyfall are close.
Yeah, I would probably put Skyfall just over it.
Skyfall's good. Those
Skyfall
are
is
both
really good.
good. But yeah, I mean, so Lazenby only got one.
Right.
Top of my head, I don't know what Roger Moore's first one was.
I
I
don't
don't care
either.
to look it up either. But his movies got worse as they went.
Yeah.
And um,
It was the one when they went to space. I heard someone talking in a
Moonraker.
it might have been the Drinking Bros podcast, or it could have just been like a random Joe Rogan episode that I was listening to. But there was like casual conversation talking about movies and like franchises or TV shows even. And they were like, that's how you know the show is done. Like when they take it to space, like it's
That's
done.
jumping the shark.
Yeah, they jump the shark when they take it to space.
Yeah, Moonraker. It was very, very fucking un underwhelming
Yeah.
after that. But it gets mixed reviews too. Like some people think Moonraker's okay and Octopussy's okay, and I'm like, those.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like A View to a Kill is awful, and it really just depends on how you view the three Brosnan movies. Like Die Another Day sucks.
Yeah.
In Quantum of Solace, nothing happens. So
Right.
yeah, it kind of just depends. Like, yeah, okay. So Quantum, if you have Quantum, A View to a Kill, um, and then two, if not three of the Brosnan movies down there, then yeah, Moonraker and Octopussy are like sixth and seventh from the bottom. So yeah,
Yeah.
then they actually start to get a lot closer to 10, or I guess it would be ranked 20th. Now there's not 30 movies. Yeah, they get even higher. They get a lot closer, like 16, 17 ranked and not 23, 24, 25.
Right. Right. So I mean, there's even what was the sequel to Unbreakable?
Was that with like Mr. Glass and all them?
Yeah. Wasn't it Split?
Is that
Wasn't
what?
Split the sequel to Unbreakable? Yeah, because Mr. Glass was or Glass was the third movie to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was three movies, right? And it because I think it was M Night Monday Night Shyamalama Ding Dong. Um,
Split was with
he didn't tell
Professor
anybody.
X.
Yeah, and no one knew that it was a sequel. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like people didn't find out it was the sequel to Unbreakable until like the end of the movie. Um, and a classic Monday night move. And then I think when Glass came out, I think obviously people kind of put it all together at that
Yeah.
point because the title of the movie.
No.
But that could be one where I think Split was a fucking incredible movie. That's one of those movies when it's on TV, like I'll sit there and watch it. Because I think James McAvoy was phenomenal. Like I think he did an incredible job acting in that movie. But I don't even know how we got there.
I don't
But
either.
yeah, catchy episode titles. Took us on a 20-minute rant to nowhere. Um, but as a as a tease that we used to lead with the show, I saw an interesting theory the other day from Michael Malice, who's like part comedian, part political commentator. He's kind of like a provocateur in a way, but he's friends with like Lex Friedman and Joe Rogan and like all those guys. And he's pretty good. He's very smart. I think he's either like Russian or Ukrainian, like heritage wise or something like that. Like he's not like a traditional like American. I think he's from some Eastern Bloc country. Because him and Lex always talk about that from being, from that region of the world. But regardless, I saw Michael Malice put out a video or a clip, I think, from his podcast, and he has a theory that I also saw Vivek tweeted about as well. And Michael Malice's theory is that there's a plan B in the Democratic Party, right? He's like, we all pretty much accept that Joe Biden's not going to be the presidential nominee in 2024 for the Democratic Party, right? They're laying the groundwork now with all the Hunter Biden stuff. It's clear that he's mentally, incapacitated in some way, shape, or form. They can't do it, right? And shout out to Finn, friend of the show, who talks about this all the time. Like, you cannot put him on a debate stage with anybody. It doesn't matter who the candidate is, whether it's Trump, DeSantis, RFK, Nikki Haley. It doesn't matter who it ends up being. You cannot have Joe Biden stand on a debate stage in a presidential debate, and you can't not have them debate, right? Like that's absurd. So what everyone is thinking, right? And Vivek has come out and said this. He said it during one of the Republican debates, was that he called out the DNC and he was like, "You guys just need to get on with it and name who the real candidate's going to be." He goes, "We all know it's not going to be Biden. It doesn't matter whether, and he said Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama, right? And those seem to be the two big names for everything. Well, and that's what a lot of people think. That's what I think. And that's what, Finn and I have talked about that. And we think it's going to be Newsom. And this clip from Michael Malice recently he put out was kind of putting together some weird pieces here that Michelle Obama doesn't want it. She's not interested, right? And a lot of people kind of think that Barack is really running the country still anyway. Because Joe's fucking, again, mentally handicapped, which is sad, right? I know I say that and it's kind of mean, but it's true, and it's sad. I feel bad for the guy, right? Like, he's a human being. He's 82 years old and he has dementia. Like, he doesn't need to have the stress of running the biggest or most successful country in the world, right? Like, it just let the guy fucking go. Like, what are we like? We don't need to do this anymore. Um, but that aside, um, he has this theory of someone that is going to be the nominee. And he thinks that it's going to be none other than Hillary Clinton. He thinks that Hillary is back into the fold. She was just recently appointed, I think, head advisor to Joe Biden. So it was super quiet. Like, no one really talked about it. She was just kind of like, "Oh yeah, no, we're gonna, kind of have her be a quote unquote advisor and things like that." And like I said, Michelle Obama has publicly said that she has no interest in it. I think she hated, you know, I mean, she certainly likes the spotlight now because she gets to make a fuck ton of money with Netflix. But I think at the time she hated the spotlight, or that kind of spotlight at least. Um, and people really don't like Gavin Newsom. Like, I think he's a very unlikable character, and although he's charismatic as fuck, right? Like, he is like a stereotypical like 80s 90s politician, right? Smooth talker, slick back hair, tall, great teeth, right? Like an attractive older guy, but people just really fucking don't like the guy. So the theory is that they're going to sneak Hillary in as the candidate, and Newsom is going to be the VP.
This feels like when Vince McMahon revealed himself as the higher power.
That's a great fucking
Like Hill
yeah.
Dog's just gonna fucking come out there and be like, "It was me the whole time,
It was
Austin."
me the whole time. Yeah,
That's what it feels like. It feels like a WWE
it does. It does.
show.
It's like when life imitates art. It's kind of where we're at now. But I mean, if it's just dumb, right? Like it truthfully it's dumb because if and it shows really how out of touch they actually are, them being they being the DNC. You have if you won't run Newsom because you're afraid that people will hate him too much, you're going to pair him with Hillary, who
Yeah,
people hated so much that they voted fucking mean tweets.
yeah. For as much as people hate Trump, they hated Hillary more.
Yes.
So why would you run it back?
Yeah. It doesn't make any
Like,
sense.
what has she done to be better?
Nothing.
Yeah, I don't think. Like, what it like that's the thing is like what has she done to improve herself or her image in 7 years?
Yeah. Literally nothing.
Now, I'm no political guy. That seems like a bad strategy.
I think you are correct. I am also not a political guy, but I would say you're probably right there. But like, I mean, at this point, I think they're kind of just grasping at straws, right? Like, I don't think they have a a good candidate or a plan, even really.
Well, I don't think that that's it's got to be the plan because it can't be that bad. Like it can't be that dire, but they're unwilling to move on or change or do something a little differently. They only are like they just like continuously go back to the well.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, well, what worked before? It's like Barack, okay, well, he can't go, so take his wife. It's like,
yeah,
or it's like, well, what worked before? Well, Hillary didn't work before, but like maybe it'll be different this time. It's like,
yeah. Maybe if we pair with the guy that everyone hates in his own state where he got recalled.
but that's the thing is like even if you just went for um even if you just went with Newsom, at least that's different.
Right, right. And that's
Like
the thing you
I think the
can
guy's an asshole based on the way he acted in California, but
but you can market him as different, right? And that's how people typically win presidential elections is by saying that they're somehow different, right? Like starting with Barack Obama, his campaign in 2008 was change. Right? Like that was his thing. It was on all the billboards. It was change. This is different. I'll be different. Turns out he was not different, right? But people believe whatever you tell them because they have hope for some strange reason. Oh, and
idiots.
they believe politicians. So between believing politicians and having hope, I think most people are just dumb. Um, but then obviously, right? So we go through 8 years of Obama, and then Trump comes in, and he's this bombastic, like, you know, we need to take care of ourselves, and we need to save the people in Ohio, and all this shit. And that's people loved him because he was talking how people in Iowa and Ohio and West Virginia, like he was talking how they talk and or at least talking how they think, right? And things like that. So he was different, right? And then people hated Trump so bad that they just wanted change. They wanted something different. So they voted for Biden, right? And now everyone hates Biden so much. All they want is something different. And it's like, get rid of that shtick. And at least with Newsom, like you said, like he's marketable, right? Like he has charisma. Like, like you said, I'm not fond of the guy. I think he's a piece of shit, but like he's way more marketable than anybody else in the Democratic Party right now. Again, he's a smooth talker, he's a good-looking guy. Like there's things that you can, you can create stories. Like you have a PR department, it's marketing, right? Like figure it out. Put him out there, let him talk to people, let him schmooze and do whatever fucking politicians do, right? Like he could be the guy, but they just, I don't know, for whatever reason. Again, this is just from Michael Malice, right? But maybe he will be the guy, but it's kind of seeming like maybe he's not. I don't know. But I mean, I think one thing for sure is, I mean, Biden can't be the candidate. Like I don't think he's physically capable of going for another 4 years unless they run him and they just fucking say, well, this is how we're going to get our first female president. We're just going to let him die in office and then Kamala will take over.
Ugh.
And then we'll have World War III because she can't speak. If you think people don't respect Biden, they ain't going to respect a woman that can't speak. She's already got it going against her. And that's the other thing too, where like I feel like it kind of goes by the wayside a little bit. And this is actually not how I feel at all. But this is what you need to take into account, right? Is we are one country of like 200 and whatever countries that there are that exist in the entire world, right? And we have to have some sort of diplomatic negotiations with all those other countries or most other countries in some way, shape, or form, right? And it's like you need to recognize that other countries think differently than we do. So
No. No.
if, yeah, I know. So if you want to have any sort of discussions with the Middle East, right? Like you think the United, for whatever reason, you have the stance of the United States as the world police, and you think that the president of the United States should go over and save the Middle East and do whatever. Do you think those guys are going to listen to a woman? Truthfully.
Of course. They're very
Yeah.
open-minded over there.
Yeah, that's right. Like these are the same people that just allowed women to drive like 3 years ago. So it's one of those things where on a global stage, and I guess that point is moot, right? If you can make the argument that you don't think, the US should be as involved globally as we have been in the past, right? If you're like, no, fuck that, we want to stay in-house more, sure. Yeah, no, let's go with a woman, right? Let just and I also to clarify, I have nothing wrong if a woman was going to be president. I just don't like Kamala Harris. I think she's fucking stupid.
Yeah,
Um,
that's like, so it's mostly a her issue because,
Right. I mean, I love Tulsi Gabbard. If Tulsi Gabbard was running, I would vote for her 7 times if I could.
and that's the thing is like, I wouldn't doubt if a if the correct woman won the presidency and rolled her ass over to the Middle East and like just fucking sat there and goes, so here's the deal. You guys hate women in your culture. I ain't your culture. Like,
Right. Right.
this is how it's gonna be.
Yeah. Oh, you want me
I
to wear
actually,
a you
I
want me to wear
actually,
a hijab? No, I'm gonna
no,
wear a pantsuit.
yeah, no, I'm gonna, whatever the thing that's gonna piss you off the most is
Yeah.
what I'm gonna
I'm gonna
wear.
wear a pantsuit, walk in and shake your hand.
Yeah, and I'm gonna drive a car while doing it. Um, I think this is without knowing, whatever. I think at some level, the Middle East will have to just deal with that
Right.
because
And I think Tulsi could do that.
that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, the Middle East needs us buying their oil.
Right.
But if someone goes over there and, she's not very charismatic, she doesn't speak clearly,
Right.
she's fucking awkward as all hell,
Right.
they're going to sit there and be like, no fucking way.
Yeah, no thanks. Here, put this hijab on before we speak to you.
Like, And that's the other thing too, is like someone with like enough charisma goes, all right, I'll wear your stupid thing. And I'm gonna tell you how this is gonna fucking go.
Right.
Like, yeah, I
Right.
can wear that, no problem. Like,
Yeah.
it's some respect for your culture because I'm about to fucking disrespect this negotiation.
I'm about to fucking bend you over in this
And that's what I mean is
negotiation.
like, I think, from, and again, like, I don't know which like congressmen are on the up and up, and I don't know which ones, whatever. So, like, I couldn't give you like an example, but just someone who's like, who understands and accepts like, okay, so the Middle East is the Middle East. They are going to act the way that they're going to act. They don't like me, I don't like them, no problem. But we got to get this deal done because they have the oil, or that we need peace here, or we need to make this country happy so that this whatever.
Right.
And go, you know what? Let me just get in, do the fucking deal, and get out.
Right.
I think that could work. Like, there's not like, because like ultimately, like the fucking royal prince of fucking Saudi Arabia isn't going to not sell the United States oil because a woman is president.
Correct.
But if it's the wrong person, or if it's a quote unquote unqualified candidate, or someone who can't like compose themselves, or someone who's not determined enough to do it, then no, it's going to be a fucking shit show.
Right. Like, how are you supposed to have any sort of negotiation with the president of Iran who fucking hates our guts, right?
Yeah.
Or Syria, that's like funding all of these terrorist organizations. Saudi Arabia is actually the easy one because we're boys with Saudi Arabia. Like, we fucking hang out all the time. They're like our one friend, or
No, no, no. Saudi Arabia bad.
yeah, yeah, I know, right? But isn't it funny though that people say that, but they say that about sports,
It's
but
about, yeah.
they don't recognize that like the government of Saudi Arabia is actually the least hostile to the United States outside of Jordan, I would say, and Israel. But Jordan, Israel, and Saudi Arabia are probably the three places in the Middle East that actually are
No, but they
somewhat
they killed that
friendly
one journalist
to the
though.
United States. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, so they can't be involved with our sports teams, but we'll still take their oil and our governments can still hang out and shoot the shit all the time. Yeah,
Well, I
so
heard a
big deal
congressman
there.
talking about like the live stuff. And he said that because he's an actual politician, not just a guy on Twitter.
Yeah,
And he goes, listen, it's very advantageous to be allies with Saudi Arabia.
yeah,
Because he goes, you think he goes, you guys keep calling it blood money. He goes, it's our money. Who buys their oil? We do.
right, right.
He goes, they don't
And
earn. He goes, they don't earn by murder. No one's paying them to murder.
right, right, right. And like, yeah, I know the Saudi government funded 9/11 and that whole thing, and it's fucked up, but they are literally one of the three countries that I just said that we know actively working against us in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
and
we
that
know that Syria and Iran are actively funding terroristic groups to fucking go against the United States.
yeah, and it's one of those things like doesn't matter if the leader is man, woman, fucking X, Y, green, blue, purple,
Zer.
doesn't matter.
Jim.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If that person can do the job correctly, negotiate correctly, make the right calls, do the right thing, it doesn't matter because like all governments around the world, they're all politicians, they're all the same.
Right.
It's like the terrorist groups are the ones that like do the bullshit.
Right.
And it's on an individual level is where you get some of like more of the atrocities, right? Mostly speaking.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I don't know the deal with the journalist. Fine. Yeah, someone had to fund 9/11. Got it.
Right.
But like the random beheadings you hear about, that's just like on an individual level or from a terrorist or like whatever.
Right. Right.
Um, ultimately, when you negotiate with these people, like we don't negotiate with terrorists. Well, luckily you don't. That's why we don't negotiate with the damn Taliban.
Right. Well, We do now because that's the government.
It's well, it's a different Taliban. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, the Taliban is different now.
I did see a meme. It was like, imagine fighting a 20-year war, but to remove the Taliban by just reinstituting the Taliban. But I don't know. I'd like to be optimistic that that type of person could just kind of still do the job. I just don't know who that person is.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could get even more interesting now with the Epstein list, which there was I think it's a New York judge ordered that the list of 170 names needs to be released. And I think they gave them 2 weeks to do it. And they said that they allowed 2 weeks for anyone that may be on the list to file some sort of motion to, have their name redacted or go against in court or whatever for whatever reason. Which, if because court
That
proceedings are public,
yeah,
it's like
that doesn't work.
we know you're on the list, right? Like you can go through the court procedure to have your name not released on that list, but we'll know that you filed it, so we
Yeah.
know you're on the list, right?
And then
It's
and then
like,
it's like, oh well, we released the list, but like please redact these 7 people. And it's
yeah,
like, you were on the list.
yeah,
Doesn't
yeah.
matter. Like the public doesn't work in
But then you
the
know what
letter of
that
the
is?
law.
You know what that is? That's the 2003 steroid thing from baseball, right? The list. Remember the list in baseball? They did like a fake, or not, it wasn't fake. It was a real test for steroids, but it was pre actual punishment. So there were names on the list that tested positive in 2003, but there were no rules against steroids yet in baseball. It was just like a preliminary, like they wanted to just test everyone to see how widespread steroid use was in baseball, right? That's that you hear people say the 2003 list, right? So people's names that are on that list, like Alex Rodriguez or David Ortiz is a big one. People are like, oh, they're steroid guys. They can turn around and be like, are we don't know because the names were also not released. The file was supposedly kept sealed, but some people leaked the names or whatever. So it's a similar situation to that where people can be like, yeah, you don't know my name was actually on the list because it wasn't released, right? And that's
Well,
the
it's the circular argument
right. So if
of
someone files the motion, right, to have their name redacted from the list, there's public record that Joe Schmo filed to have his name redacted from the list. Now instead of 170, there's 169 names. Well, we
but
can
there's
put two and two together and know that Joe Schmo was on the list, but he legally can say you can't prove it. And it's
and
like, okay.
that's where like the bird lawyering and the public opinion actually changes in this one.
Right, right.
Because like, and I don't know if we're gonna get to him or not, but like Jonathan Majors found
Yeah,
guilty in a court of law.
right.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
OJ
Found not guilty.
found not guilty, didn't do it. But what does everyone say? Did it.
Yeah. He even wrote a book. If I did
Well, that's because you didn't do it. Here's
it.
how I would do it if I did it.
With like pretty significant detail too. It's like, oh, okay, all right. Got a
So,
lot of time to think about that.
right. But like legally, he didn't do it.
Right, right,
You can think what you want,
right. Hey, Twitter world.
but you make this list and say I'm the congressman, and I go, well, I don't know if I'm on that list. I know I'm on that list,
Yeah,
but just as like a precaution, I'm going to make sure that my name is blocked from the list. Like that, like that's the spin zone, right?
right, right,
It's like just making sure I've just, you know, I've had conversations with Mr. Epstein. I want to make sure I'm not on that list for the wrong reasons.
right.
Okay. And then everyone's going to be like, well, there's 4 of you that said a similar thing. There's 4 of you that had your names blocked or redacted in court. And the list is 166 now.
Yeah.
It's a witch. Although math is racist, so I guess
No, that's true.
if you want to do that, then you're a bigot.
That's true. That's true.
Also, everyone on this list should fucking burn in hell.
Yeah.
Actually, so let
Well,
me
I think depending on
before I
what they were
get
there for,
oh, so
right?
before I get to that, what is the list actually of? Is it just visitors, or is
Um,
it a contact list? What is it?
to be totally fair, I don't know if it's his little black book or if it's a flight log or a client list or what. Like, I don't know the specifics because people,
Not everyone who went there touched kids.
right, and people are using different language for it on not just Twitter, but like also when they're writing articles, right? Like some people are calling it the Epstein client list, and it's like, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah, because what was he?
Some people are saying it's his little black book. Some people are saying there it's flight logs. It's like, well, which one is it? Because they're all different.
Yeah, they
They
all
all
matter
mean
too,
different
because
things.
I
Like
would also,
especially in this context matters, right? Like,
right, and I would also argue that a little black book should probably be more than 170 names.
yeah, for this guy,
I don't know what the contact count is in my phone. I feel like it's more than 170.
probably, yeah.
And then a client list. What does that mean? What is a client list? Because what did he do like legally by trade? What was he?
Uh Financier
Okay.
or something
So
like he did something in the finance world.
so if he's a yeah, so if he did finance, that means some people were legitimate
Right.
actual non-pedophile clients
Right. Right. He did have to manage some people's
at some
finances
point.
at some point.
At some
Yeah.
point he did finance because the guy was rich.
Right.
Like
Right.
had to have done it at some point.
Right.
So yeah, then it's like okay. Um Now I guess what you'll get too is with some of those like you're going to need some serious PR because there might be some people that get their name redacted and say he was my financial advisor. I invested over this period of time with him.
Right.
I never visited the island, but yes, I was a client
Right.
of
Right.
whatever.
And there might be some people they would never say this publicly, perhaps because of the PR and the backlash. But it's a very real possibility that there are some people that knew that he was a piece of shit, didn't engage in any of that stuff, but just let him manage their money because he was good at it.
Right.
But that's totally reasonable, right? Like they would have been like, yeah, I know this guy's a fucking scumbag and I know what he does and I know he's a fucking pedophile and he does that. I don't engage in any of it, but he's a damn good fucking financial guy. So
But boy, were my numbers up.
yeah, yeah, like that could be a thing. Like I don't fucking know. And like I said, the people would probably never say that in public because of the backlash, but I'm sure there's at least one person in that situation, right? That didn't engage in any of
Yeah.
like the pedo shit, but like was like, hey man, fucking have at it with my money because you're good at what you do.
Yeah, and I think you're gonna see some of that. There's definitely gonna be some of that where you're gonna have to admit the relationship, and then people can take it from there and just say like, I never visited the island. You can check the flight logs. Never did. Um, I only met with him in a professional setting. I, invested money with him. Whatever. Um, and then when they at one point things got a little weird, and you can track when I left him and I went to someone else.
Yeah.
And like there will be people like that and they have a legitimate claim.
And you have to imagine too, again, we're going to need context to it, right? Because if you believe some of the conspiracy theories and he was an agent of whatever intelligence agency, whether it was CIA, Mossad, whatever rumor, again, conspiracy you want to believe, if he was that and he was trying to honeypot these people and catch them and compromise them and do whatever for intelligence reasons, you would have to imagine too, again, where context comes in, that there's going to be people that he pushes to see if he can compromise them that say no, right? So like if there's someone that maybe has frequent contact with him for 6 months, right? Like let's say in a 6 month span, one person visited his island like 3 times, met him in New York one other time, and this other thing, and then like never again had any contact with him. Like that person might come out and say, like, listen, he schmoozed me, he wined and dined me, he tried to get me to do this. There was a situation where he caught me in where like I was uncomfortable, and after that night we never spoke again. Okay, again, like that's different, right? Like there needs to be some context to this where as much as I want to say, anyone on that list should be fucking guillotined, like I think there does need to be
Depends on what
context. It
it
depends
also
on
it depends on what the list dictates.
right, right,
Because if it's just communication, even and again, even if a visit doesn't, you know, incriminate anybody,
correct.
because there's a lot here. Like now, it would take someone with some balls. Might be 45 to do it, but someone might even say it's like, yeah, I mean, he was like a double agent or something,
Right, right,
and it's like because this was before he was this is before 45 would have been in. It's like, yeah, he was a double agent. So it's like he had some good info. And then I just kind of like took it and left.
yeah,
Or he isn't. Like, and then this is all bullshit. Or it's like, yeah, well, we knew he was working with is Mossad Israeli intelligence?
yeah,
So it's like, okay, well, we knew he was working with them. They're an ally of ours. So it's like we thought there was going to be some mutual benefit here.
right,
Oh, and then a 16-year-old girl showed up and I fucking got out of town. Like
right, right.
they
Or
could
it
they can
could it
plus the
could
guy
come out
because the guy's dead. So you can spin it however you want.
allegedly.
Well, no, no, no. He's dead.
Yeah.
I didn't say how he died.
Well,
He's
some
dead.
people don't believe that either, but it's just all there's a million conspiracy
What do they
theories.
want? Dig him up? Show me the
Yeah.
body?
But there's could be another situation too, right? Where if like there's a one single person from the CIA is a frequent contact or a frequent visitor, right? It's like, okay, was that his handler? Like, was that, you know what I mean? Like, was he actually CIA? Was he, so there's
This is the thing is where some people are going to have to roll over on something.
right.
So we should find out some more info.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's the first week in January. So next week, sometime next week,
It
it's
has to be
gonna be an
released.
it's gonna be an epic Friday at 4 o'clock fucking dump.
Might even be Friday at 7.
Yeah.
You think Friday at 4 is bad?
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't seen anything yet where they've blocked it
I was
or
gonna
they're
say
trying
this
to
isn't good.
block it.
This isn't gonna go like fucking JFK where they don't actually release it, is it?
I haven't heard anything.
Probably. The fa- I don't trust anybody for a second that that list is going to come out in full when they say it's going to.
Yeah.
Like they might release the list and be like, oh yeah, like the first 6 names of these guys all dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like a clickbaity like article.
Right.
Like wait until Thursday for numbers
Yeah.
150 through 130.
Yeah, you just release it little bits over time to the point where like people just
People just
they're
kind of
they're
forget.
they're over it.
But on this one, especially with some of the names, like because there's going to be a lot of like gotcha moments.
Right.
People won't sleep on that one.
No, especially with Twitter, like with the
Yeah,
way that Twitter exists.
and with how polarizing everything is, like
Yeah.
especially now with what we talked about earlier, if Hillary's on that list, all hell's going to break loose
Oh yeah. Yeah.
because they fucking hate her already,
Yeah. So
and they'll spin it into whatever way. Like I can't believe she facilitated sex trafficking.
yeah.
Do you have any proof that that's what it was?
Yeah.
Well, of course. Why else would she have gone? Everyone knows the Clintons come from a long line of trafficking.
So, well, you want to wrap this bitch up?
We can wrap this up.
All right.
Um, Completely switching gears. So I bought a divot board, like the actual divot board. So uh Google the divot board. They're on Amazon. They're on the divot board, probably the divotboard.com. I don't have a promo code. There's plenty of people who do.
Yeah.
Mark Crossfield has one. So if you look up Mark Crossfield social media, you can probably find 10% off. Um, so divot board is $100 and it is a small rectangle and the top of it, so the bottom of it's like spiky rubber, so it doesn't move that much. Like if you
Right.
swing, like it moves, but it doesn't go flying.
Right.
And then the top, it's actually almost like sequins.
Yep.
So you swing one way, the sequins all move, so it's white underneath and green on top, and then you just kind of like swipe them all back, and that's how you see strike location. Obviously, it's got to be an iron or a wedge.
Right.
Um, so Michaela actually ordered it for me, but I don't have a Prime, so she does all my Amazoning. Um, so I got it because I don't have a mat at work anymore. Um, James left. He had the mat. He had the launch monitor. Like we still have the cage up. Like no problem. That's his stuff. I got a mat here at home, but I don't. I haven't set it up. I don't feel like bringing it back. Like
Yeah.
plus, I look at it like how can it be bad? Like, how can the feedback be bad? It cannot hurt.
Right.
So, um, I don't even know how long I've had it now. Over probably 6 weeks, maybe longer. 6 or 8 weeks. And so I like it a lot. So number one, it gives you a surface to hit off of if you don't have one. Uh, Number two, you can tell I think the so the first best information is strike or is ground contact. You can see if it's before the ball or after the ball because you put your ball on a little dot
Right.
and you can see if you're hitting it fat, hitting it thin, or whatever. And I think that's number one, first and foremost. I think that's the most important thing that you can actually get from the divot board.
Right.
Number two, which is harder to detect because divots can lie to you about without other information, but you can definitely see if you aren't neutral with your contact. So when I say neutral, um, if you play golf, you would see just like almost like a moderately symmetrical divot that's looking almost kind of like straight on. So I want to be clear if anyone's like that nerding into it. Divots don't, you can't read a divot and then tell what exactly happened. There's too much going on.
Right.
But with the divot board, I believe that you can tell if you're striking off the toe or if you're striking off the heel.
You
And
can
it
see
makes it
swing path too, right? Like
well,
the
so and
direction of
that's the tough part. That's the tough part because you can't read a divot to find swing path because there's a relationship between strike, path, and swing direction. So path and direction are actually different. And that's where it gets really technical and you need a track man to figure it out.
right.
So you can have so I'm left-handed, so I'm doing this left-handed. Fuck you righties. You can have a swing direction, a swing path that's neutral or left, but your swing direction is right.
Right.
And then your divot is probably going to be fairly neutral.
True. True. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you
That's a good
would
point.
go, oh, well, I need to get my path. Oh, no, my path is good, which is correct. But you're like, oh, why did I hit this the way I hit it? And it's like, well, the swing direction's off. Like if you hit a pull.
Right. Right.
And then the strike or which part of the club hits the turf also matters because you can have a neutral or a left path, again, still left-handed, but rip the ball off the toe and you'll see like a kind of a weird divot. And then you'll look at it and go, oh, my divot's to the right or my divot's too steep. I need to shallow it, shallow it, shallow it. It's like, no, shallowing it's not going to do anything because you're ripping the ball off the toe. You need to fix your strike.
Right.
So that's the only tough part with the divot board. You would need an actual golf pro to explain this correctly. Um, because I can swing out and make the divot board look like I'm swinging over the top. I can do that.
Right.
So that's the only, so I will say that's the one downside is you want it to be an easy, like, oh, swing path out. It's like, no, because there's a relationship of which part of the club hits the turf. Your ground contact matters. So you can't really determine path without measuring it.
Right.
Um, but you can definitely do ground contact, fat or heavy, or fat or thin, and you can definitely get club interaction. So you can see if you're hitting it off the toe.
Right.
Heel's easy because it's probably a shank, but
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it's like if you're striking neutral, you can kind of play with it a little bit and you can kind of figure some stuff out. Um, Obviously, like I mean, I've been taking lessons for 7 years. Um, I go and I see my guy fairly often. I should be fucking better now that I say that, but hey, I am who I am. I also don't remember what I was when first went to see him. I might have been like a 13, but anywho,
I gotta go back and
um,
see. I gotta set up a time to see him.
I think I got two in January. Um, so divot board would recommend. Now, some of you are probably thinking, hey, like I don't have anywhere to hit a ball. Here's this is part two of my divot board. So I fucked my ribs up like 2 years ago, swinging inside, and they fucking hurt when I swing indoors. Period. Like they've hurt for 2 years, can't figure it out. It's probably something that you can't really like. It's hard to train it because it's like without it's also hard. It's so I've had James look at it, I've described it to people. You can't really provoke
Right.
it.
Right.
And there's a lot of little muscles and little joints and little ligaments and there's a lot because it's because a lot of people would they would probably complain of back pain, but it's not my back, it's my ribs. So it's like one of the junctions in there. And it's not quite an intercostal. This is what I mean. It's complicated.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's very
Is
complicated.
it the
So
multifidi?
like no, it could be, but like
Yeah.
no, because it could be like well, because multifidi, they're these really small muscles. Muscles need tendons.
Right.
It could be a multifidi tendon,
Right.
but it could also be like there's a lot of cartilage in your rib cage too. So it could be the joint where the rib cage meets the spine. Like there's a lot that it could be, but it only hurts when I swing inside. It does not hurt when I swing outside because when I swing outside, I hit a lot of balls. I hit a lot of balls frequently. I can swing hard and my ribs do not hurt. It's only when I swing inside. So when I went to see Classic Gary, like back in the fall, not really fall, but like fall, we started noticing it. He has like his indoor spot, so we weren't hitting the ball out anymore. So I hit the ball left to right. I don't hit the ball right to left. It has to be a fucking accident. I can't even do it like fucking around or trying. Like I cannot do it. So indoor tells me that I hit it right to left. I don't hit the ball right to left. I can't do it anymore. I used to be able to. I cannot do it. But indoor tells me that. And I'm like, no, this isn't how I swing.
Right.
So we go outside and I'm not hitting it right to left. I'm hitting it left to right or straight. And it was raining that day, so we didn't bring out the monitor. Fine. Next time we went in, I hit like 3 balls. They're going the wrong way. He goes, let's go out. Bring the monitor, hit the ball the way it needs to be hit, like straight, neutral, left to right a little. And he goes, yep. He goes, this thing's reading that correctly.
Yeah.
So we either have a software issue or we have an environmental issue where I'm changing what I do. So he changed some things with the software and the setup, whatever. Ball goes right to left. And he goes, can we try something stupid? I'm like, yeah, of course we can. I am stupid. He goes, I want you to take this ball and just like bury it into the side of the cage. Like, try to miss the cage if you can. So, what we found out was when I swing indoors, the walls and shit on my left, I always end up swinging away from it. And so I do come over the top indoors. I come over the top. There's definitely some type of like side bend and crunch on my ribs, and it's really hard to decel that. So I
Oh
think that's
yeah.
why my ribs hurt from swinging inside.
Interesting.
So what I did, now this comes back to my divot board. The divot board, I noticed I was hitting everything thin, like super thin, super thin, super thin. So I go, I got a stupid idea. Let me go get a foam ball. So I got a foam ball. Now I don't care
Right.
because if I miss the cage, which I don't, I'm not that bad. But like if I hit it a little shitty,
Right.
there's nothing to be afraid of.
Right.
There's no environment. So
Right.
provided I have enough room to swing and I take the foam ball, I can do whatever you want with me.
Right.
And it's not like the foam ball is different than a real ball. They're both balls. And again, all we're evaluating is strike location and ground contact with the divot board.
Right.
It's all there. So you can get a divot board and a foam golf ball and you can get a lot done. Hit it
So
into a
your
sheet.
problem is you're just retarded and you're afraid of walls.
Yes, I'm swinging away from walls. So then it was real hard because we went to iGolf the simulator on Friday after work. That was fucking hard. Like the first
Yeah.
couple I hit were like moving right to left, and I'm like, oh shit, like how do I
Yeah.
do this? 'Cause I can't hit a foam ball into the simulator.
Right. 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 That's funny.
So divot board would recommend. Me equal idiot.
All right. Well, my final thought is probably going to be a quick one. I had my first, um, like old man moment, really. So earlier in the week, the kid had like a neck rash, right? And we were like, we sent a message to the portal to the pediatrician, and they were like, you bring him in, at 1:30, we're available. Well, Amy had a hair appointment that day, so she was gone. So I took him myself to the pediatrician to get everything
Oh geez, and
taken
you
care
managed
of.
you managed to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at you.
So that's not the story's not about that. The story is about on the way there, right? So the kid is in the back seat, in the car seat, whatever, driving down Route 1. The pediatrician's like not even 10 minutes from the house. It's on Route 1. So I'm going up and there's a car on Route 1 that there's two lanes, right? And I'm in the right lane and the car in front of me is like doing like 25 miles an hour. And the speed limit on Route 1 in that area, I think is 45 or 50. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And the car starts like drifting side to side. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? So I switch
Guy's
over to the
shit
left.
faced.
I switch over to the left lane. Yeah, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on like a Wednesday.
Shit faced.
Um, I pull up next to him and I look over and it's this older guy. He's probably in his like 60s. He's got gray hair, but he's not like super old. And he's doing one of these. So if you're this is for you folks on the YouTube show. He's doing one of these where he's like looking up and down on his phone. And I'm like, are you fucking serious, dude? So we get to a red light up there and the guy's still on his phone and he just happens to look over and we make eye contact and I literally said, put the phone down. I told like a 65-year-old man to put the phone down while we were sitting at a red light because he was driving like a fucking loser. And then we just drove off, and then I got into the parking lot and took him in, and he was fine. Everything's fine. He just had fucking eczema. That's all it is. So the baby's fine. But like it was the first time where I was like, wow, I'm old. I'm that guy now. I'm yelling at an old person texting while driving, but it's like it took having the baby in the back seat and like what the fuck is wrong with this person for me to be like, dude, what are you doing? And I literally told the guy to put the phone down. And he just looked at me and then like put the phone down. So there it is. I had my first official I'm old moment.
First, no, first hero moment. You saved the day.
Yeah, 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 I guess so.
You took it upon yourself to save the day.
Yeah,
Look at that. Guy has
yeah,
one kid. Now he's a hero.
yeah. Look at me. You might as well call me a teacher.
No, no, no. You couldn't be that good.
Not on that level.
You couldn't be that good.
Yeah. So there you have it. I yelled at an old man for texting while driving. Well, that's gonna do it for us. Happy Christmas Eve, or actually this Christmas Day for anyone that's listening to it. Happy Christmas, Harry. I think it's funny that British people say Happy Christmas, so I like to do that to really throw people off because they're like, shouldn't you say Merry Christmas? I'm like, no, I'm gonna say Happy Christmas. So I don't know. I'm just a dick, but or a weirdo or both, but whatever. Um, enjoy it, I suppose, if you can. That's gonna do it for us. What am I supposed to say? I forgot my whole exit spiel. Um, subscribe. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. If you're on YouTube, hit the button up top, hit the thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you're an audio only listener, wherever platform you're on. If you use Apple or Spotify, you can leave us a review and 5 stars. Get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod, Twitter at Sarcasm_speaks, Facebook is Sarcasm Speaks, website sarcasmspeaks.com. If you have any money left after Christmas, go support the sponsors in the show notes below. Get your promo codes down there as well. So until next time, good night, everybody.